If you're over 60, there's something sitting in your kitchen right now, maybe even on your plate today, that could silently be fueling inflammation in your body. And the worst part, it's something most people believe is healthy. What if the very thing you thought was helping your body age gracefully was actually working against it, day by day, meal by meal? What's causing that persistent joint stiffness that never quite goes away? Why are energy levels dropping even though your blood work seems fine? And could there be a hidden link between what you eat for breakfast and the brain fog creeping in by mid-afternoon? These aren't just minor annoyances. They could be signs that inflammation is slowly chipping away at your health, right under your nose. Today, we're going to expose the common food that's doing the most damage after age 60 and why your body can no longer tolerate it the way it used to. Once you know what it is, and how it triggers a cascade of silent inflammation, you'll never look at your pantry the same way again. So stick with me. The answers you're about to get could change how you eat forever and might just add years of pain-free living to your life. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because staying informed like this is one of the best things you can do for your future health. Let's get into it. You've heard the term inflammation thrown around everywhere, but what does it actually mean for someone over 60? It's not just swelling or redness you can see. It's an invisible fire burning inside your body. Low-grade chronic inflammation has been directly linked to the biggest health problems we face as we age: heart disease, arthritis, type 2 diabetes, cognitive decline, and even some forms of cancer. And here's the part that's often misunderstood. This inflammation doesn't just happen with age. It's often triggered, and food is one of the biggest culprits. Now, your immune system is designed to protect you. When you scrape your knee or catch a cold, it kicks in, causes some inflammation, then resolves. But with the wrong food, especially one eaten every single day, the immune system stays turned on, and the longer it's activated unnecessarily, the more wear and tear happens inside your body. Imagine your immune system like a smoke alarm. It's useful in an emergency, but if it's constantly blaring because of bad wiring, eventually it just wears you down. So what's the food we're talking about? It's refined carbohydrates, and more specifically, ultra-processed grains, like white bread, breakfast cereals, baked goods, and even some whole wheat products masquerading as healthy. That's right. Even the so-called heart-healthy whole wheat toast that's sitting on your breakfast plate might be quietly damaging your health. Here's why. When you're young, your body can handle a spike in blood sugar pretty well. Eat some toast or cereal, your pancreas pumps out insulin, your cells absorb the glucose, and you move on with your day. But after 60, something changes. You become more insulin resistant. That means your body doesn't respond as well to insulin anymore, so sugar lingers in your bloodstream longer. And this excess sugar doesn't just sit there doing nothing, it starts a dangerous chain reaction. It bonds with proteins in your blood, forming what's called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These are inflammatory, oxidative compounds that damage your arteries, your joints, your brain tissue. Over time, this leads to that morning stiffness, that creeping fatigue, that forgetfulness. And if your meals are built around refined carbs, like toast, bagels, crackers, pasta, you're feeding that process 3 times a day. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I don't eat junk food. I switch to whole grain. That's what most people do, especially after a doctor's visit that mentions cholesterol or blood sugar. But here's the truth. Most whole grain breads still have a glycemic index nearly identical to white bread. It's a small upgrade at best. The marketing is clever, but your blood sugar can't be fooled. And remember, after 60, your metabolism slows down. Your muscle mass begins to decline. You have less metabolic flexibility, meaning your body has a harder time switching between carbs and fats for energy. So when you eat a high-carb meal, your body clings to that sugar, and that sugar starts silently doing damage. Let's talk about your joints. Ever wake up with stiff fingers or aching knees? You might chalk it up to age, but often it's systemic inflammation caused by elevated blood sugar. That blood sugar leads to more AGEs, which settle into cartilage and connective tissue, making them stiffer and less elastic. And this doesn't just cause pain, it can limit your mobility, independence, and quality of life over time. And what about your brain? Recent research is uncovering the link between chronic inflammation and cognitive decline. In fact, some, Experts are now referring to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes because of how closely it's linked to insulin resistance and blood sugar dysregulation. Think about that for a moment. Every time you eat a meal high in refined carbs, you're not just feeding your belly, you might be starving your brain. But here's the kicker. This doesn't mean you need to give up all carbs. It means you need to be smart about the ones you choose. The carbs that come in vegetables, legumes, nuts, and low-glycemic fruits, these are packaged with fiber, phytonutrients, and antioxidants that slow digestion and nourish your body. But the ones that come in a box, in a bag, or from a drive-through window, those are the ones that hijack your metabolism. And when your metabolism goes off track after 60, it's harder to get it back. That's because your muscle tissue, which is your body's biggest sugar sponge, is declining naturally with age. You don't want to throw more sugar at a system that's already losing its ability to process it. That's like pouring gasoline on a flickering fire. Let's bring this home with a bit of clarity. You don't need to count every gram or become obsessive, but you do need to start seeing certain foods for what they are. Not neutral, not harmless, but actively inflammatory. That seemingly innocent morning muffin, that sandwich at lunch, those crackers before dinner, they're part of a cycle that your body used to manage but now struggles with more and more. And once you start shifting away from those foods, the changes can be dramatic. Many people notice more energy within just a week. Joint pain that they thought was just aging starts to fade. That annoying brain fog starts to lift. And over time, blood markers improve. Insulin goes down, cholesterol normalizes, liver enzymes stabilize. Your body is incredibly resilient when you stop feeding the inflammation. But that first step is recognizing what's causing it, and more importantly, realizing it's not just one donut or one piece of toast, it's the cumulative effect. Every day on a body that no longer has the flexibility it did at 30 or 40. If you're over 50 and your joints ache when you get out of bed, go upstairs or just try to enjoy a walk. It's not your age, and it's not your fault. The real issue? Your body's running out of a natural substance that cushions your joints like a shock absorber. And most supplements out there, glucosamine, collagen, all of it, don't fix this. But now, researchers have discovered a breakthrough that can actually restore what your joints are missing. And people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s are seeing real relief. If you're feeling stiff, sore, or weaker lately, stop guessing. Check the link in the pinned comment now. Here's where things get real. Once you recognize that refined carbohydrates and processed grains are quietly fueling inflammation in your body, especially after 60, you're standing at a fork in the road. One path keeps you in the loop of aches, low energy, and slow decline. The other opens the door to clearer thinking, stronger joints, more stable energy, and, most importantly, control over your health. Now, I want you to imagine something. What if simply switching out 1 or 2 ingredients at each meal could cut your inflammation markers in half over time? What if you could lower your risk of heart disease, dementia, type 2 diabetes, and painful arthritis without medication just by changing the foundation of your meals? Because here's the truth. Your body wants to heal. It's trying to. Right now. Every cell in your body is designed for repair. But when you keep feeding it foods that trigger inflammation, that healing process is interrupted constantly. It's like trying to sleep through a fire alarm. You can't rest, and your body can't repair. So let's talk about how this actually plays out in real life. Let's say your breakfast is toast and jam, or a bowl of cereal with fruit juice. Seems pretty standard, right? But from a biological perspective, you've just kicked off a massive insulin response. Your blood sugar spikes, your pancreas floods your system with insulin to bring it back down, and within a couple of hours, you're hungry again. Not because you didn't eat enough, but because your blood sugar crashed and your body is panicking. By mid-morning, you're reaching for a snack. Maybe it's a granola bar or a banana. Again, you're fueling the cycle. And now the inflammation has what it needs to keep burning quietly. High blood sugar, high insulin, and oxidative stress from excess glucose circulating in your bloodstream. Multiply this day after day, and now you see why that little stiffness in your knee hasn't gone away in months. Why your weight is creeping up even though you're not eating more. Why you feel foggy even after a full night's sleep. Let's shift that picture. What if your breakfast was 2 scrambled eggs with spinach sautéed in olive oil, or maybe some Greek yogurt with a handful of berries and chopped walnuts? That's a meal rich in protein, healthy fats, fiber, and low glycemic. Carbohydrates. Your blood sugar barely moves. Your insulin stays low and stable. No mid-morning crash. No hunger signal screaming at you 2 hours later. Just smooth, sustained energy. That's how you break the inflammation cycle. And once you start doing this meal after meal, your body gets the signal. It's safe. The emergency is over. Let's get to work repairing what's been damaged. That joint stiffness, it starts to ease. That bloating after meals, gone. Your clothes start fitting differently. Your mood stabilizes. You're sleeping deeper. And best of all, you're not constantly thinking about your next meal. You're not fighting cravings all day because your body finally feels fed at the cellular level. Let's back this up with what the science says. Studies have shown that replacing refined grains with whole, unprocessed foods significantly reduces C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation. We also know from long-term population studies that people who reduce their intake of processed carbs and replace them with healthy fats and vegetables lower their risk of heart disease and stroke. But it goes even deeper than that. Your gut, where over 70% of your immune system lives, responds dramatically to what you eat. When you eat processed grains and sugars, it feeds the wrong kind of bacteria, the ones that create toxic byproducts and damage the lining of your gut. That's what leads to leaky gut syndrome, tiny holes in the gut lining that allow undigested food and toxins to slip into the bloodstream. And what does your immune system do in response? That's right, more inflammation. But when you eat foods like leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, avocados, and healthy fats like olive oil and omega-3s from fish, you feed the good bacteria. You help rebuild the gut lining, and the immune system, which had been stuck in red alert mode, finally starts to calm down. So now you're tackling inflammation from multiple angles, stabilizing blood sugar, reducing insulin spikes, feeding your gut microbiome, and supporting your immune system. And you're doing all this not with pills, not with complicated protocols, but with food, simple food, real food, the kind of food your body was designed to thrive on. Now, here's a question for you. Have you ever gone even one full day without bread, pasta, cereal, crackers, or some form of processed grain? Most people haven't. Try it, just once. Take one day and build your meals around vegetables, lean protein, nuts, seeds, healthy fats, and low glycemic fruits like berries. Not only will you feel a difference, often within hours, you'll begin to notice how many of your habits were centered around those high-carb foods. And once you're aware, you're in control. And let's be clear, this isn't about never enjoying a piece of cake at a birthday or a slice of bread with dinner. It's about getting out of the daily cycle that's slowly eroding your health. The occasional indulgence isn't the issue. The everyday routine, that's where the real danger lives. Because once inflammation takes hold, it spreads. That's the nature of it. You might feel it first in your knees, then it's your digestion, then your memory isn't quite as sharp, your energy drops, and little by little, those normal signs of aging begin to pile up. But remember, aging is inevitable. Inflammation is not. So the next time you reach for something to eat, ask yourself, is this food helping me fight inflammation or feeding it? That simple question can be the turning point. Because when you choose foods that your body can metabolize gently, foods that nourish instead of agitate, you're not just eating, you're healing. You're protecting your future self. This is the kind of change that doesn't require perfection. It just requires awareness and consistency. Start by making one meal anti-inflammatory every day. Then make it 2. Then make it your default. Your body will thank you, not in years, but in days. So take a deep breath, open your fridge, look at your next meal with fresh eyes. You're not just choosing calories, you're choosing inflammation or healing, pain or clarity, decline or vitality. And if this opened your eyes, wait until you see what other healthy foods are doing behind the scenes. Tap that next video on screen. It'll show you the hidden truth about so-called heart-healthy oils and why they might be the next big culprit in chronic inflammation. Let's take this journey further, together.